Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rakakarash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS who rule well, peace, and salutations to the elect. My name is Aina. The title of this video is Satan has power over your flesh, right? And Satan has power over everything right now, right? The earth is given into the hand of the wicked, right? And this would be a lesson about the fact that Satan has power over your flesh. I won't give you few precepts, but two things happened. The elder apostle Torah and the elder apostle Gabar, they was doing, and the elder bishop Sakaran was doing the live lesson. I remember it was like last Saturday, right? Or the Saturday before that, I don't know. But I know the elder apostle Gabar was saying that Satan has power over your flesh. And I know what he meant by that, just different things that happens in your body, right? Satan has the power now to cause certain things to happen, right? And his children, right? At one point, the elder apostle Tahar, not in the last class or whatever, but one point he said the demons do the heavy lifting, right, for Esau, right? Esau is, he's coming in the power of Satan, right? And these demons and whatnot do the heavy lifting for him. This is 2 Thessalonians 2:9. It says, NLT, it says, this man will come to do the work of Satan with counterfeit power and signs and miracles. KJV says, even him who's coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders. All right, so, Satan is here, his children is here, right? And they have power over the flesh. All right, so certain things might happen to you that hasn't happened before. Okay, so that was the first thing that happened, like I mentioned. So one, the elder apostle Kabar said, Satan has power over the flesh. And then I watched another brother, he stated in his videos that he was just talking about getting older. Certain things may happen, it's signs of you getting older and whatnot, which is true. But also, that's how we should walk in faith, pray, do exactly what we needed to do, and with all that prayer and fasting, all of that, also eating right. We have the brother Kanak, that's throwing up these videos with the teen church and whatnot, something to get into. Exercise, and the elder apostles talk about exercising a lot and different things like that. Just trying to make sure you're doing the best you can do, but praying. I found myself praying too, to the Lord, saying that, with all these many different afflictions and things like that Satan is allowed to do to us, when I pray that you keep me, as in, let's say, you might be going through something in your body that's just a time period of test that Satan is doing, right? And you now you're more alarmed and afraid of something like that. You don't know what's happening, when it could just be a test. Now, this isn't medical information. I'm not a doctor or anything like that. You have to seek out a doctor. Esau makes us say these things because if we do information like this, then they block the video because they're just the devil. All right, so that's what we have to say. So the video stays up. Seek out, your doctor for information about health and whatever. But anyway, you could feel like there's a problem with you, and it may not be the case. It could just be a test from Satan, or like the brother mentioned, you getting older, which, yes, things happen when you get older, but even when you're younger, Satan can still do different things to you. For example, I drive a lot. I've been driving trucks going on, I want to say like since 2021, I believe. Right around the CVID event, I was working for the city, and they were pushing they were trying to push the jab. So I decided to do trucking, and I've been doing trucking ever since. Very familiar with it, and the Most High is with us. We're sharp men, discernment, spirits working with us, different things like that. I've been driving for a long time now, so I know what to expect, and I know what not to expect, different things like that. Certain times I do my daily routine, or let's say I'm drinking my water and driving, what the case may be. and all of a sudden, you know, I have to use the restroom more immediately than I would normally would have to use the restroom. Like it's like, a type of emergency situation, where you gotta try to pull over. It may not always be a place for you to pull over, you know. Another example, you may eat some food, when you're driving, and you could be anywhere. I'm just basing off me driving, and now you got to, do the do, and it's like an emergency, and you don't know what the hell is going on, and you might find it strange or whatever the case may be, and so on and so forth, different things that can be happening with your body that you're not used to, and a lot of times I would say it's just a test, it's a time. Maybe eventually it might pass, or it comes and goes, whatever the case may be. You know, but you just have to be mindful of these different things, all right? Because Satan has power over the flesh, and we've been put into his hands, to even just walk the walk and see whether we'll give up, curse the Most High with our mouth, and all these different things. You know, so and that was just like a rough draft. That was not all. You brothers and you sisters. Well, now you might have different problems that has happened to you and it never happened to you before. Like, what the hell is going on? And then if you're an older person, you might feel like you're getting older. It's like, damn, I'm getting older. Maybe this is something that happens when you get older, whatever the situation may be. Like you can start losing hair. Myself, I have eczema. Why not? I got it on my head. Like the crown of my head, I got a little eczema. Which I'm trying my best to do what I got to do with that. Whatever, we're in the flesh or whatnot. Different things to just start happening in your body. Saying to try to make you be, aware of that, those things that's happening with your body, and make you feel uncomfortable about it, and make you feel embarrassed about it, and so on and so forth. But it's all a part of the walk. I want to grab the scripture. I didn't get it. And Lord willing, this is an exhorting and comforting, right? Let me grab this scripture right here. The elder brother Yashawama brings out a lot. The condition of the battle. Bear with me. Get it right here. All right, second Esdras 7:57. And just getting straight to the point, it says, then answered he me and said, this is the condition of the battle which man that is born upon earth shall fight. That if he be overcome, he shall suffer as thou hast said, but if he get the victory, he shall receive the thing that I say. All right, so we're all, working to receive that reward. We have to go through it. And the title of this video is Satan has power over the flesh. Now, some things might be happening to you that you might find strange, like it never happened before. And it's just Satan doing what he's doing. You got to go through it. All right. This is 1 Peter 4:12. Let me make sure this is still operational. First Peter 4:12 said, beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial, which is to try you as though some strange thing happened unto you, but rejoice in as much as ye are partakers of Yahweh's suffering, that when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy. Says, if ye be reproached for the name of Yahweh, happy are ye, for the spirit of glory and of Yahweh rests upon you. On their part, he is evil spoken of, but on your part, he is glorified. So these different things happen. We glorify Yahweh Bashem Yahweh as we enter into these many diverse temptations. So that's pretty much the point. Now, strange thing. It never happened before. It's happening now. You may think, well, maybe I'm just getting older, maybe this or maybe that. And a lot of times, too, is just Satan being able to test you like he tested Job. All right. Now, this is Job 2:1. Job loses his health. We all know the story, of Job's, test, the bet between Satan and the Lord, right? This is Job 21, right? Again, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them to present himself before the Lord. Satan works for the Most High. All right. And the Lord Yahweh said unto Satan, from whence comest thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth Yahweh and eschews evil? And still he holdeth fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without cause. And Satan answered the Lord Yahweh and said, skin for skin, yeah, all that a man hath will he give for his life. But put forth thine hand now and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse thee to thy face. So this is something that brothers will be tested with. You know, you're gonna come through, get scabbed up, or whatever the case may be. Different situations in your body. Things probably that you're not used to. Whatever the case may be. And you just it may be a test. All right. So Job 25 again says, but put forth thine hand now and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord Yahweh said unto Satan, behold, he is in thine hand, but save his life. So this is our position. This is a condition of the battle. We're in the hand of Satan, but save our life. So all manner of different things can happen to you, life-threatening things. I remember the elder Apostle Tar said, at one point he was with his woman, and someone pulled a gun on him, and he had to deal with that situation. It's a real life situation. He had to deal with it, but as you can see, he's here today, right? So just different things that we go through only just for the proving, the testing of our faith, the different trials and things that we go through, is all a part of the condition of the battle, right? It's all a part of the walk. Satan see it, Esau may, know about it through the demons, that he got out here and all of that, And what's another one, which is becoming my favorite scripture? If I can remember where it's at. Things like 2 and 28. No, it's one of these. Let me see. It's probably 1 and 28. Let me see. Yeah. Philippians 1 and 28 says, and nothing terrified by your adversaries, which is to them an evident token of perdition, but to you of salvation, and that of Yahweh. Right. So NLT says, don't be intimidated in any way by your enemies. Right. This will be a sign to them that they are going to be destroyed, but that you are going to be saved even by Yahweh himself. And that's a perfect example of what I just brought about the elder apostle Tar, when he got a gun pulled out in front of him. And many other stories, and many other things that the apostles, the bishops and whatnot have been going through, even some elders, which we all go through the same things, and there's levels to it, different situations, whatever the Most High deems fit for us, to go through to prove ourselves, whatever the case may be. But the wicked Esau, even they will see these different things too, and they will know that it's up for them. We don't care. All right. Job 26. And the Lord Yahweh said unto Satan, behold, he is in thine hand, but save his life. So when Satan forth from the presence of the Lord Yahweh and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot unto his crown. So you see that Job was healthy as hell. Job was good. And then just like that, something strange happened to him. It's like, usually you might go through, like, you might scratch your arm on a bush while whatever the case may be, and then you can get a reaction and so on and so forth. But things can just happen. Say you can just make it happen. It says, so went Satan, Job 27, so went Satan from the presence of the Lord Yahweh, and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot unto his crown. He took him a potsherd to scrape himself withal, and he sat down among the ashes. Then said his wife unto him, dost thou still retain thine integrity? Curse God and die. But he said unto her, thou speakest as one of the foolish woman speaketh. What shall we receive good at the hand of Yahweh, and shall we not receive evil? And all this did not Job sin on his lips. And this is what we need to do, right? It's how we need to walk, right? I want to grab this one real quick. This is James 1:1. It says, James, a servant of Yahweh and of the Lord Yahweh Shai, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greetings. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trial of your faith worketh patience, but let patience have a perfect work, that you may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. You know, and if any lack wisdom, let him ask of Yahweh, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. You know, so diverse temptations, working, is working for us, right? Working patience, right? Endurance, the trial of our faith, different things that we're going through is for a purpose. All of it matters, right? You if you're going through something to say, you might be going to you, and you just tell them, aha, you mad. You keep on pushing because we winning, This is Wisdom of Solomon 2, which is another one of my favorites. Because it shows that these devils out here, on us, trying to stop us, trying to stop this word, they trying to stop the words from getting out, right? That we don't reach our final form, right? They don't want us to wake up each other and elect and all of that, because that's a part of the prophecy, is feeding the sheep and waking up the over elect, right? And then once to elect ourselves, then so on and so forth. And Esau doesn't want that to happen, so he's trying desperately to stop it. Okay, I'm just read this whole thing. Pretty much the lesson is over. But what this is going to here is showing that Satan also, with his minions, the wicked Edomites and whatnot, are out here trying to, do anything they can do, test us in different ways and all of that. And we just got to, just keep doing what we're doing, giving glory to Yahweh Bashem El Shai, right? We're not chastised and we're a bastard, right? This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2, verse 1. It says, for the ungodly said, reasoning with themselves, but not aright, our life is short and tedious, and in the depth of a man there is no remedy. Neither was there any man known to have returned from the grave. So this is the wicked, of course they're without understanding and knowledge and all of that. So this is just their mindset. It says, so we are born at all adventure, and we shall be hereafter as though we had never been. For the breath in our nostrils is as smoke, and a little spark in the moving of our heart, which being extinguished, our body shall be turned into ashes, and our spirit shall vanish as the soft air. Right, and of course, the spirit goes back to the Father, right? And how Shai rose from that. Yeah. It says, and our name shall be forgotten in time, and no man shall have our works in remembrance, and our life shall pass away as a trace of a cloud, and shall be dispersed as a mist that is driven away with the beams of the sun, and overcome with the heat thereof. For our time is a very shadow that passeth away, and after our end there is no returning, for it is fast sailed, so that no man cometh again. Come on, therefore, let us enjoy the good things that are present, and let us speedily use the creatures like as in youth. Let us fill ourselves with costly wine and ointments, and let no flower of the spring pass by us. Let us crown ourselves with rosebuds before they be withered. Let none of us go without his part of our voluptuousness. Let us leave tokens of our joyfulness in every place, for this is our portion, and our lot is this. And that's exactly what you should go do. So enjoy it, because your time is short. You're right. And it's at the end now. Verse 10 says, let us oppress the poor righteous man. Let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the age. Let our strength be the law of justice, for that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth. Therefore, let us lie in wait for the righteous, because he is not for our term, and he is clean contrary to our doings. He abideth us with our offending the law, upbraideth us with our offending the law, and objective to our infamy, the transgression of our education. He professes to have the knowledge of Yahweh, and he calls himself the child of the Lord. So, they said, let us lie in wait. They shooting arrows privately, laying snares, different things, they're putting swine and all the brushes and all these different things that they're actively doing for a purpose that they well know, they're trying to stop something. Verse 13, he professes that to have the knowledge of Yahweh, he called himself the child of the Lord. He was made to reprove our thoughts. He is grievous unto us even to behold, for his life is not like other men's. His ways are of another fashion. We are esteemed of him as counterfeits. He abstaineth from our ways as from filthiness. He pronounces the end of the just to be blessed, and maketh his boast that Yahweh is his father. Let us see if his words be true, and let us prove what shall happen in the end of him. For if the just man be the son of Yahweh, he will help him and deliver him from the hand of his enemies. So there are enemies, right? And they for them, it's like, okay, well, we're going to fuck with you. Since you say, God, that's your father, we're going to help you then, right? Take that, beating our ass, right? Because let us examine him with despitefulness and torture, that we may know his meekness and prove his patience. You see? The child, your faith, work with the patience, Let us condemn him with a shameful death, for by his own sayings he shall be respected. Okay? It says such things they did imagine and were deceived, for their own wickedness hath blinded them. As for the mysteries of Yahweh, they knew them not, neither hoped they for the wages of righteousness, nor discerned a reward for blameless souls. For Yahweh created man to be immortal, and made him to be an image of his own eternity. Nevertheless, through the enemy of the devil came death into the world, and they that do hold of his side do find it. So lean on Yahweh Bashmi Shah, don't lean on the wicked. All right. And again, the title of this video, Satan has power over your flesh. Stay prayed up, stay in the right walk, right? Stay healthy, watch the teacher videos and whatnot, eat healthy and all of that. All right, so Lord willing, you edify from this lesson, Shalom, to the hopeful elect, which consists of men, women, and children, Shalom.